I'm going to do a live workshop, an hour and a half. We're going to go through every single button in Lightburn.
Cool.
I'm going to charge you, if you buy it today, $27. And I made $3,000 in a weekend. And then I was able to just make that an evergreen product that now is part of my welcome sequence. So people get into that product. And that's the way that they're like, oh, okay, I like the way she teaches. I like how she goes through this. And then they stay in my ecosystem. And I think having the structure in place to help you say, okay, these are the steps that I take to make sure that everything that I do is moving me forward, and making sure that, one, you're doing that and then measuring the results of those things so that you're not just putting things out there and reacting to vanity metrics.
Okay, Katie, welcome. It's so lovely to see you.
Same to you.
You have a really interesting business, and I would love if you can kind of like dive into it. Can you explain to us what it is that you do and kind of what like led you in this direction as well?
Sure. So I am an educator for laser engraving machines and businesses. During COVID, got attacked with ads for Glowforge. So was really, really excited about the possibilities of what I could make with that. And after having a Glowforge, got really excited about other machines. And I also, at the same time, was let go from a very long corporate career and had some time off. So I started exploring, I don't want to go back into corporate life. What can I do? And I really found that I enjoyed teaching the laser engraving machines and the process and the business. And so I make products, but I also spend most of my time helping other people understand the machines, especially when they graduate from something like a Glowforge, which is kind of, my friend likes to refer to it as valet parking. Like, it does everything for you. And when you move to the larger machines, the software is more complex. There's a lot more to learn and a lot more to balance. So helping people to get through that is what I like to help them do.
Really cool. Okay, and then so you now have courses. When you started, so it was like you were running your own shop. Was that the starting point, and then you got into the education? Or walk me through kind of like how the business started and then what it's like mostly is now, if that makes sense.
Yes. So I thought that I would really want to have just a product shop and do a ton of the products. But what I found quickly was that I really get bored making the same thing over and over. So I started working on making more unique projects and then filming that and putting that on YouTube and talking to people about that. So I started my YouTube channel and realized that what I actually really like is doing new things and figuring things out. So with that, people were asking, well, how do you do this? And how do you do that? And can you explain this? And that's where the courses and the education portion came in. Was it just really helps me to, I get to use my best skills while still making and having all the fun, creative parts of the business that I really like.
Oh, I love that. And then tell me about, so if someone's unfamiliar with the whole like laser world,
Yes.
tell us like what kind of stuff do you make, or do you show people how to make?
Sure. So laser engraving machines range from tiny diode machines that can do very simple things and, cut paper or engrave on coasters, all the way up to, I have some fancier machines that can engrave things like this. So I engraved this tumbler, and I teach people how to do that, which is a more complex thing with a rotary machine. So they range in price and in size and in power and just different capabilities. Some can engrave on metal, some can't. Some can cut things, some can't. So learning how to use each different machine is challenging for people, but also a lot of fun.
That's so cool. Okay, and then tell me a bit about your courses and exactly what it is that they're teaching you, like who tends to take them, let's say.
Yeah. So the first course that I created is called You Can Laser. And it's really people who want that shortcut to, I don't want to have to go on YouTube and try to figure out all the different things that I don't even know what to ask yet. So it really streamlines the process from, I am a beginner laser engraver, I just got my machine, to I can confidently use my machine. I know the settings, I know how to make it work, and I don't have to go looking for an answer every time I try something new. I know how to figure that out. That's really the biggest outcome of that course, is that someone doesn't need to go on YouTube to look for every new material that they try or feel intimidated. The people that take it, oftentimes they're saying, like, I'm scared to use my laser. I got this big laser, I invested all this money, and I'm afraid to use it. And so this is just a shortcut to help them get that confidence and get over that hurdle of, what do I do? And then the next part of my business is more about the business side. So
Mhm.
it's more of a coaching relationship and really helping people to figure out their niche,
Mhm.
figure out who they want to sell to, where they want to sell, how they want to sell. There
Mhm.
are lots of courses out there that teach people how to sell on Etsy specifically, or
Mhm.
how to build a Shopify site, or
Yep.
all of those things. But frequently, the laser engraving people don't necessarily want to do that.
Yep.
So, helping them figure out what's the right place to sell, how to sell in that right place,
Mhm.
and how to narrow down so that they can grow.
Yep. Okay, I love this. And then, so walk me through. At some point, you came across my courses. Like, what
Yes.
were your problems that you were having? And yeah, what led you to me and them, I guess?
So I had started my very first website on Wix, and I
Mm.
absolutely detested it. I
Uh,
hated using it. I didn't find the user interface very intuitive. And so I was looking for a new option,
mhm.
and I really wanted to be in control. So I like to understand how things work.
Mhm.
I'm an engineer by background, so I really like to understand how things work. And I didn't want to pay someone to create a beautiful site that then I wouldn't be able to update, manage, change, all of those things. So
Mhm.
I was looking for, I found Squarespace and thought, okay, I want to learn how to do this.
Mhm.
But I also really, really like to understand why I'm doing
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
And that was what I found when I found you, was that you were explaining here's why we do specific things in
Yeah.
our Squarespace site.
Mhm.
Here's how it impacts your SEO. Here's the buyer psychology. Here's the pages you need. Here's why you only have 4 links on the top of your page. It
Mhm.
was all of those things that made it so that I knew why I was doing something,
Mhm.
how what I was doing was going to impact it. And I loved your teaching style. It was very straightforward, no fluff, no BS. And I dove in and got into everything that you offer.
Oh, that's so good. I also love, like, as you describe what you appreciate, it's also like I can tell our brains work in similar ways because it's like especially in school, I was always like, why do I need this? Like, if you don't tell me why, I'm not down to learn this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yes,
Yes.
and I think it really helps because it's like if you don't understand the why, then you don't understand like, okay, when do I trust the rule? When do I break the rule? Like, because there
Right.
are some situations where you actually should break the rule because you understand why the rule was there in the first place. So yeah,
Right.
totally. Cool. Okay, good. I love that. And then tell me about, okay, so your website pre-Square Secrets and then post-Square Secrets. Like, what were the things that you noticed were different or you were realizing you had done incorrectly the first time and then you fixed the second time?
I had tried just using a template and like plugging things in,
Oh.
and it didn't feel cohesive. It didn't feel like it had the right parts. And then after Square Secrets, I was able to say, okay, I'm just going to actually start with a blank canvas and I'm going to put in the things that I know that I need.
Mhm.
And I know how to do it. I know how to do it quickly. I know how to do it effectively. And I know how to link it to all the right next things. So
Um,
if I'm doing an opt in page, I know what I need to have after that.
yeah.
I know what I want on that opt in page. I know how to remove the headers, just all those simple
Yeah.
things that make it effective for helping customers and people to navigate what they're trying to do to
Mhm.
simplify
Mhm.
getting from, okay, I have this problem, I want to go solve it, to actually acquiring the thing that helps them solve the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay, good. Okay. And then as you mentioned, you took one course, then you took another course and you like went deep. Talk to me about, you joined Audience Academy. What
Yes.
was your kind of intention or had you real, I don't know, what made you think like, oh yeah, I need to grow an audience?
Everyone talks about growing your email list. It's
Mhm.
like the number one thing that people talk about. You hear it all the time.
Yep.
But for me, it was trying to understand, one, how do I manage what I have in YouTube? How do I get those people over? How do I
Mm.
think about I got really sick of Instagram really fast.
Mm.
It just was not for me. And so how do I develop relationships? I loved though the stories and the conversation. And so how do I develop relationships in with an audience that I can talk to and actually get to know? And then how do I get content out there that gets more people into my list? So
Mm.
you were the first person that really was still talking about blogging
Yeah.
and the impact of that and long form content. So it wasn't just blogging, but it was long
Mhm.
form searchable content.
Yep.
How do you connect those things to the things that your audience needs so that they can find you when they're ready for you? That was
Yes.
the biggest thing for me is like when we talk about the Instagram algorithm, if someone sees it at the wrong time, it doesn't matter. But
Mhm.
when they go
Mhm.
searching, if you come up and you
Yep.
can solve the problem, bingo, that's what you need.
Yeah.
And that's what you were offering in that
Yeah.
course.
Oh, well, glad it worked perfectly. Um, can you talk to me about, so you took the course, you started creating content. Well, you had been creating content a bit before. Then
Yes.
you continued with the content creation. Talk to me about what people are always like, okay, well, if I start a blog or a YouTube channel or whatever, like, I mean, how long does it really take to achieve X or something? Can you talk to me about, like, and again, it's going to be different for every single person, but can you give me like a rough timeline of like growth on like the blog or YouTube or the email list, over however long it was?
Yeah. So I would say the YouTube channel and the blog probably took me. The blog is still growing. I'm still working on that, but the YouTube channel, it took me like 6 months to really
Mhm.
get to a place where, and that was more about my capabilities and understanding how to put things out there that people actually wanted to see. But then
Mhm.
what was great was I was able to then connect that to my opt-in,
Okay.
which also connected to a blog post. And so then
Mhm.
as people are like, "Oh, I watched these 5 tips. I'm gonna go grab that download," and then they're in my
Mhm.
email list, and it
Yeah.
all connects and it all works through. And so it took me, I would say, about 6 months to
Mhm.
really get myself comfortable, and it's because there was all these skill sets you're learning. Just
It's a lot.
not only, the writing, the scripting, the filming, all of those things, but now I have a video that has over 30,000 views. That is my biggest lead in to my email list. And it's just one download, one video, and it's awesome.
Isn't it amazing how that happens? Like, you literally
Yeah.
have one video just absolutely take off, and then it, like, the list building from it. I'm like, "Oh, it's so beautiful." It's like
Yes.
that's good.
Yeah.
Talk to me about email list and, like, when you decided to launch the course. What was the email list at when you launched it the first time?
Yep.
Do you remember that?
I would say, I think that it was probably around 300 people
Mhm.
then, and it's at about 2,500 now. Um, I was kind of working with some of the people. I'd been talking to a lot of them for a long time, and I had seen another course that was similar, but I thought my approach was different.
Mhm.
And so it was about 300 people when I launched the first time, and I
Mhm.
made 13 sales, which for me was
That's so good.
better than I expected. I was really
Yeah.
excited.
Really good conversion rate from a 300 person email list. That's awesome.
Yeah.
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 Solid. You had very perfectly aligned people on that email list, clearly.
Yes.
Good, good for you. And then can you so you've launched that like subsequent time since. But coming back to content, I think talk to me about like what have you learned or well, actually let's start with this. What kind of content are you creating? Like what's the typical stuff that you're putting out there? Let's start with that.
So my overarching goal is to help laser engraving business owners make more money with their lasers. So
Mhm.
it can be anything from marketing content, how-to content,
Mhm.
software tutorials. I do a lot of updates on the software that runs the lasers.
Mhm.
It's like moving. The way that people best explain it is like moving from Canva to Illustrator. So there's
Yeah.
just a lot of
Mhm.
things in there, and people get
Yep.
overwhelmed by how much is available.
Mhm.
So how to and I share a lot of different resources that people may not be connected to because they don't necessarily live in our world.
Yep.
So you're a great example. The best person to talk about something might not live in the laser niche. So
Mm.
I share a lot of things that I find outside of the laser niche to help
Mhm.
people expand their capabilities
Mhm.
for marketing, SEO,
Mhm.
all of those other pieces that are going to help them grow a business over the long term.
That's really cool. And then tell me about okay, so you do the blog and you do YouTube. Are you taking your YouTube scripts, turning them into blog posts? Is it like the same piece of content or is it two different pieces of content? Yeah.
That is the goal, yeah. So
Mhm.
there are
Yeah.
additional things, but generally I take the content from the YouTube and move it into a blog post
Yeah.
to
Cool.
support it.
And then
Yeah.
talk to me about people always wonder, okay, you've built an email list, 2,500 people. What do you do once you have the email list? Like, what are you actually sending them to like keep that relationship going?
I really tried to think about things that I wanted to know or things that I'm learning. So,
Um,
like right now I'm talking a lot about niching, about figuring out a
mm,
niche and really nailing that down because a lot of laser engravers when they get started, they want to make everything because they can.
mm,
And what they realize is then they end up just throwing spaghetti at the wall and they're not referable. So we're talking a lot about that. Then we might move into, simple things that they may not have experienced yet that may seem simple to me now. like paint filling acrylic.
Yeah.
It's a technique that they may not know, but something they want to learn. So
Mhm.
it's just, I like to keep it as a, hey, here's something that I've learned that you might find interesting, or
Mhm.
here's some questions that I've gotten repeatedly. Let's talk about them so that you can continue to gain those skills.
Yeah, I love that. And then tell me about like, so you mentioned the one video with like 30,000 views. How people who are watching this are probably thinking, okay, how do I make a YouTube video get that many views? Or how do I get a blog post to be seen by so many people? What have you found, or what would your advice be? Like, what have you learned over time about creating content that people actually want to consume and find?
I think the few things that I would say are most important are understand what people are searching for. If
Mm,
when people don't know you yet, you have to have something that solves a problem that they're looking for. So,
yeah.
in my world, that's light burn and using
Mm,
it quickly. Anything that you can offer that provides someone speed,
yes.
shortcuts,
Yes.
really helps them get from A to B or A to D quickly rather than struggle through it.
Yeah.
So, anything that I can do that can help someone to have that quickly and to do it in a way that's logical and efficient and, like I said, not too much fluff.
Yep.
Try to keep it snappy.
Mm,
People tend to fall off when they get bored. So if I'm trying to keep my content um, moving so that they're thinking, oh, okay, if I want to dive deeper in that, I can go here.
mhm.
But trying to keep the initial piece of content really short, tight. And if they
Yeah,
want more depth, they can go into something else later.
that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, and then as you mentioned, you're very intelligently leading all these fabulous views and everything over to opt-in gifts. Talk to me about wh- what did you pick for an opt-in gift or opt-in gifts, and like what is maybe the most popular one, and why do you think it's the most popular? And hopefully people could like take this, and obviously it's not going to be the same for them because they're probably going to be a very different niche, but like anything that you think, oh yeah, this makes a good opt-in gift that people would want, and they can try to transpose that onto their industry.
Yeah. My most popular one is really the detail of 5 top tips that I have in Lightburn.
Mhm.
And the reason I think it's so effective is because there are things that are not easy to remember the steps of. So
Mm,
having just a quick download that you can go through and say, "Okay, what was that thing that she said again?
mhm,
Oh, it's this step, then this step, then this step. I click
mm,
here, I do this." And so that one is really popular because it's things that are shortcuts and that
yeah,
make life easier in the software, but they're not super easy to just remember the first time you hear them.
yes. Yeah, totally. I love that. Um, yeah, and hopefully everyone watching, try to think about like how can you take that same idea and then think about how that applies to whatever it is that you do, basically.
Yeah.
It's good. And now the other thing which I know is like people want course life, and they're like, that sounds like a dream business model. Um, Tell me about, is it the dream business model? And um anything, yeah, unexpected that happened from like running the business of a course creator?
Launching is exhausting. I'm sure
Yeah.
that you would say that. And so I think it depends on where you get your energy and how you plan to spend it. So
Mhm.
I really enjoy the interaction with the students when they're in. So it's worth it to me to say, okay, I'm going to put this out here so I can get students in that then I can really work with and help them see see those accomplishments that they're making. So I
Mhm.
do like having a bit of a live component in it if I can,
Mhm.
so that I get that feedback and that interaction. That actually surprised me because I thought that I would want to be more hands off. Like, okay, I've recorded all the content. I want to be done with this. You just go do it. But what I found is that even those little things that we have, a quick hour call once every other week, and just the questions people are asking helps me to make the content better and helps me to
Mhm.
figure out what's a new challenge they may be finding that I didn't catch.
Yeah.
That was surprising for
Mhm.
me because I thought it would be like, okay, done and dusted. I get to just
Yeah.
be out of it. And that was
Yeah.
not the case.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So if someone else is thinking, I love this, and I want to also build this audience, go on to launching some sort of digital product, whether it's course or something else, doesn't matter. What advice, if you like look back at your old self, what advice would you give that person? Like, what are things that you've realized over time and you're like, oh yeah, I wish I knew that like years ago? Is there anything important.
Yes. I think one of the things, again, that I love about your courses is that it helps provide the structure to make something sustainable.
Mm.
And I think having the structure in place, as much as you don't want a ton of automations and things when you're starting off, but at least the structure to help you say, okay, these are the steps that I take to make sure that everything that I do is moving me forward. So
Yeah.
whether that's the blog creation format or whether
Mhm.
that's the content creation and making sure that one, you're doing that and then measuring the results of those things so
Mhm.
that you're not just putting things out there and reacting to vanity metrics
Yep.
or what other people are seeing, but actually seeing, okay, when I put this piece of content out there, I got 10 new email subscribers.
Yep.
That's great. That's huge increase. So
Mhm.
measuring and having those systems in place is what I wish I would have done first.
Mhm.
Less about the like, this random idea that I have, I want to try that out. I wish that I had thought about it in a more
Mm.
stepwise way
Yes. Mhm.
so that I think it would have grown just much faster. And I could have avoided the frustration of like, well, why didn't this thing get views? And
Yeah.
because there were other metrics I could have measured too.
Mhm.
Frequently, a YouTube video that doesn't get a ton of views, it reaches a specific group of people who really needed
Yeah.
that answer
Yes.
and they're more engaged.
Yeah.
So knowing the right things to measure would have been really helpful.
It's so true, and I find that especially with YouTube, it's like it's interesting the way the algorithm works. It's like the piece of content that is the most broad in topic can get the most views, but then when it comes to, okay, well, actually my goal is to like get them on my email list, get a sale for my course. It like the once you start getting very broad, then the quality
Yes.
often for like to lead into what you want to sell is often not as quite as good. So you have to like balance those two things and like understanding, okay, am I chasing this for the vanity metric of views or am I actually like what is this actually turning into? Which
Right.
that's another good one, which is so many people think, okay, well, if I build this email list, will that actually result in what I want of like growth of business? Have you found that to be true? Has growing the email list had an impact on like the overall business growth?
100%. Because it also, one, it brings in new people who need the thing that I've already created. But there are
Mhm.
also a lot of people that I've developed relationships with. They email me, every couple of times they get an email and like, oh, this came at the perfect time.
Mhm.
What's the next step? And it helps me to figure out what content I should be creating.
Okay.
What's the next thing they might need? How can I support them? So it really does, if you want to be in the business of helping people to
Mhm.
do a thing, that's the best place to get that information from them is what emails are they reacting to? What are they
Mhm.
clicking on? How are they reacting to it? Do they respond to you?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I've been able to introduce new products because I had a bunch of people ask me
Mhm.
specific questions.
Mhm.
So, definitely, that's the
Yeah,
only thing that's really growing my business.
that's so good. I love that. And okay, tell me about that specifically. So you mentioned like from those conversations, you figured out the new products to launch. Walk me
Yeah.
through like what was some questions? What did that make you launch in the end? Because I think this is something which people massively underestimate the like importance of.
So one of the things I did last summer was I was getting a bunch of the same questions. I had run my live workshop that led into my bigger course,
Mhm.
and there were people who were like, "I don't need all of that."
Mhm.
So and they were asking similar questions about specific things within the software.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Okay, I'm going to throw it out here. I'm going to do a live workshop, an hour and a half. We're going to go through every single button in Lightburn. I'm
Cool.
gonna charge you, if you buy it today, $27."
Mhm.
And I made $3,000 in a weekend. And then I was able to just make that an evergreen product
Mhm.
that now is part of my welcome sequence. So
Mhm.
people get into that
Oh.
product. And that's the way that they're like, oh, okay, I like the way she teaches. I like how she goes through this. And then they
Mhm.
stay in my ecosystem.
Look at you. Made yourself a
Yeah.
little low cost offer funnel without even like kinda
Yeah.
in a backwards way or yeah, just
Yeah.
I mean, literally just giving people what it is that they wanted. And that's the thing. It's like once you have the email list, you actually know what you should be creating. 'Cause so many people, it's like they are like, oh, I have this great idea, launch the thing, realize they don't have an audience. And I'm like, oh God, no.
Right. I think you're one of the only people too that says that consistently of it doesn't matter if you have a perfect thing if you have no one to sell it to.
Yeah.
I the
Yeah.
that whole course creator way that people sell that is not great, and you are really
Yeah.
good about saying, "Let's be honest. Let's build an audience and then give them something." So, I
Yeah,
appreciate that about you.
exactly. That was literally the reason I created Audience Academy because I saw so many people. It was like, "Oh, I created this thing. and then Noah bought, and then they get so demoralized and they're so
Yeah.
upset because it's like such a confidence kick when you launch something to the world and it doesn't get any sales. And so then, and then it, yeah, awful. And so I was like, okay, and then they would be like, oh no, I launched the wrong product, or I didn't put out the right thing or something. I was like, okay, wait, but let's actually ask the question, like, how many people went to the sales page?
Right.
And then it's like, oh, basically no one. And I'm like, you don't have a product problem. You have a lack of an audience problem. Like, you just don't
Right.
have eyeballs in the thing that you've made. And maybe, I mean, it could be that you actually created something they didn't want because you didn't have the chance to like have conversations with people and get the email responses as you had. Or like, it can be either or. Sometimes they've actually made the right thing, but they just don't have the audience. And other times it's like, oh yeah, you made something that actually no one wants because you didn't have the audience to talk to them about.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. Yeah, it was driving me up a wall, and I was like, okay, I need to create this because someone, like, I need to tell people this because this is annoying me.
Well, yeah, because the thing that people are selling is the create a course, you're going to make $1 million. And
Yeah.
it's like, maybe eventually,
Yeah.
but you got to have people to sell it
You
to.
literally need the audience first, and then they can help you make such a better product because as you say,
Yes.
it's like, as you've had those, like, calls every other week and everything, and as you get those email responses and you realize, like, "Oh, actually, they need this thing," and so
Yeah. That workshop, I never would have thought that people would want to pay for that.
Mm.
And they were like, yes, I want to do this. And I had like, of the people that signed up, I had a large number of them actually showed up live. They asked great questions, which made it even better.
Mhm.
And then I did another one that was a deeper dive because they were like, okay, what's next? Okay, great. We'll do the deeper dive one.
Okay.
Awesome. And so now it's a bundle. So it's great. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, and I love that that leads into the course. Have you set up an evergreen funnel yet? Or is that in
It's
progress
in
or you're
process.
doing launches,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Cool. Cool, cool. Yeah, launches I love. I mean, yes, as you say, they're so exhausting. Um, it's a thing. Though as you get to them over time, they get easier. But yeah, I would say that the thing which I find that's the other thing which people do, which I'm like, no. It's like they go straight to evergreen. And I'm like, oh, it's also not
Yeah.
a great idea. So yeah, I think that launching is I don't even want to call it a necessary evil because it's also like it can be really enjoyable. I really love doing the like live events and stuff and interacting with people. So I'm mostly just like a work hermit all day normally. But yeah, and so I think both are beautiful and everything. But like I think, Katie, you've just done everything in the exact right order. I'm very proud.
Oh, thank you.
It's like glad logic prevails sometimes, and that's really good.
Well, when you
Um,
find the right people to lead you through it,
yeah,
it helps.
I guess so. I guess so. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Okay, coming back to I'm going to ask you the question for both different courses because probably, I don't know if it's the same answer or not. But
Okay.
talk to me about, for anyone who's on the fence about joining Square Secrets, what are your thoughts? Was it useful?
Absolutely. So Square Secrets specifically, like I said, I didn't want to invest in a designer at an even higher price than that
Mhm.
to create something that then I didn't know how to manipulate. I knew
Yes.
that my business was going to evolve and that I was not sure exactly what I was going to want to do. And I needed that capability for myself.
Yep.
I needed to understand why, I needed to understand how, but it was specifically you're going to know all the clicks. Like, sure, yeah, you could go learn that
Mhm.
on YouTube, but what you're going to learn here is why,
Mhm.
in what order,
Mhm.
what's important, why it's important.
Mhm.
And that for me was just enormous. I still go back to it when I'm like, wait, I need to do this thing. Why do I do that? Where does it go? How do I
Yep.
think about that?
Mhm.
So I use it all the time still.
So good. That makes me so happy. Okay,
Yeah.
moving on. Audience Academy. If someone's
Yes.
on the fence about Audience Academy, what are your thoughts on that one?
I think it's exceptional. So I tend to get very interested in courses, and then sometimes, you get through a certain part of it and you're like, okay. Both of those courses I've gotten all the way through because they're just so good and there's so much great content in there.
Mhm.
And Audience Academy, the biggest things for me is how to, like I said, systematize something and know that every piece of work that you put into that is going to move you forward.
Mm.
And that's amazing because you do a great job of really explaining why search and why
Mm.
ranking on Google for what you want to talk about is really important. And now I guess it's ranking everywhere, but
Yep.
you really walk through that in a way that makes it like, oh, I understand exactly why I'm doing this and how this is going to benefit me over the long term. And that makes it so much more fun to invest
Mm.
the time in making really good content because,
Yeah.
okay, you could spend how much time creating an Instagram reel or you could create a YouTube video and a blog that's going to last for years versus minutes. So that's what I love about that course.
That's what I love about it too. I mean, I just love I've literally taught the strategy, which I do, because I was like, I think this is the bee's knees for multiple reasons. So I'm glad you agree.
One other thing I will say about Squarespace business is also the skills that you teach about getting clients is actually really relevant for a lot of other industries too. So it doesn't have to be, that's what I found when I'm thinking about my audience and how they might interact with you, not only learning how to create their website, but also learning how to go after clients. So a lot of people in the laser engraving world want to work in like high-end industries. They want to work for weddings, or they want to do big parties. They want those smaller, less frequent, higher ticket jobs. And what you teach and how to get design clients is actually really relevant to them in getting laser product work clients. So I looked at it as, okay, it's not only this thing that I'm learning, it's something else I can apply to my business as well.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, it's interesting. So there was like one girl who took Square Secrets business, and she's like, I don't even want to be a website designer. I just want to take your course. Like, I just loved your content. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's a first. But she was like, literally what you talked about was amazing for like every business. And I was like, it's true. I mean, obviously you choose to niche for a reason, but yeah, I mean, the content there and like the marketing strategies and the how you run a business and all those like things is pretty relevant to like whatever you want to do. Yeah. I'm glad it was useful for you too. Good. Amazing. Thank you so much, Katie. Wasn't that inspiring? Hearing real success stories like this reminds us that building the business of your dreams is absolutely possible, and it starts with finding the right clients. Now, the best client finding method isn't about chasing the latest trend or jumping on every shiny object. It's about truly discovering a client finding strategy that feels natural, works for you, and helps you connect with the clients that you actually want to work with. So if you want to figure this out for yourself, you can take my quiz, Which Client Finding Method Matches Your Personality Type? And in it, you will uncover the perfect way to land your dream clients without the overwhelm or the endless trial and error. So click the link below or head to paigebrunton.com/quiz to take the quiz. And then you can start building your web designer dream business today. I can't wait to hear which marketing strategy result that you got.